All right, give thanks. Let me just thank the I Never Knew TV team, to facilitate in this presentation. This is actually a presentation I made a couple of years ago still. Seeing, I've been doing some work myself and my team from the Center for Entrepreneurship Thinking and Practice at UWI. Referred to myself as the Marcus Garvey Scholars. I've been doing some work on what Marcus Garvey has done. Finds a lot of the work on Marcus Garvey really emerged from people involved from a socio-political lens. So I'm speak a lot about Marcus Garvey, issues surrounding governance, and establishing our own political party, but also establishing systems to support the development of I people. But it's mainly through that sociological and that political lens that a lot of scholarship has been done. So if you check a bridging like Professor Rupert Lewis, really good bridging, have a very open door policy for students. Rupert Lewis and Carter and a number of other persons have done a lot of writings that I can make some reference to in terms of Marcus Garvey. But what we want to do, what I want to do specifically, is to highlight Marcus Garvey work in terms of entrepreneurship, because that bridging creating a model over 100 years ago, which I find is extremely relevant now. Certain things have changed, the context have changed. So we look at some of those things was an extremely important model. And I think that having what you call grounded scholarship is important. I also did this presentation because I find that in Jamaica, they used to argue that when you come to the University of the West Indies, either Rastafari, Virgin, or you're a man who would deal with some kind of politics. So a lot of them were leftists. So as a youth, I had tried to examine. So why is it that the man never penetrate Marcus Garvey work? Because I remember Alan Bernard. Bridging one of the most committed youth who I know in terms of community development. Was actually one of the lead program driven person in USA and thing. Now I see him run as him running election in flankers. Yeah, but like, there's so much work. But yeah, we're doing a lot of work and we're saying to ourselves, how is it that we don't see the man them really looking at Marcus Garvey's model? Why the people at the university never adopted the person who do economics in particular? Because I was doing my master's in economics and everything they're still seeing. I did my master's in economics. I was saying, why never use Marcus Garvey model? Because we're always saying they need a model that can endogenize growth, which means that they want to ensure that the growth is anchored within your own reality and your own control and things. Like you want a growth that when the money is generated, it stay amongst the mass of the people. Because when you talk about money multiplier, that's what is important. How much money is circulating in a particular space, it increases the potential to support and generate a sustainable source of wealth. See, so that you really want. And when we look at Marcus Garvey work, I say, but Marcus Garvey this model. I was told that some of the men never accept it because they must say Marcus Garvey never have a model. I say, eh? And in saying that, them also argue that them adopted some leftist ideology, like Marxist theories, because I'm saying that a model. As a youth Christian, because I know Karl Marx was a man who didn't like black people. The man was a racist. And so that was something we always in our head that try to resolve. Why the man him never look at it? And I come to the fullness that education can be like that still. Seeing when you're too trained, you sometimes look only for things that are accepted formally already within the scholarship. But then you ask yourself, who is going to accept a model from Marcus Garvey in a scholarship and a research space that is governed by certain people who emerge out of that colonial and benefit from that colonial heritage? Because all major journals are still governed by people who come from Euro-American societies and things still, who have their own ways and their own models. They now just accept Marcus Garvey model and say, okay, this is a model that is this or that. So I learned that you have to write your own scholarship. And so my focus of my scholarship seems to be on Jamaica, the Caribbean, and the Caribbean diaspora. I'm not trying to do research to try to break into Europe and America. Jamaica, the Caribbean, and the Caribbean diaspora, and the farthest it will go is into Africa, because we promote the South-South Sustainable Development Model, what was about Marcus Garvey and Haile Selassie I dealt with, where Marcus Garvey was consolidating the diaspora and the Caribbean, and certain places in Central and South America, while Haile Selassie was doing the work on the continent. So that is our primary focus. See, we're not trying to influence no scholarship in Europe and America. What I'm saying is that I and I as a people need to look at our own models look at our own people brain and learn to appreciate them brain, so what we can learn and what we can contextualize. And the beauty about this thing is that Marcus Garvey faced the same situation at the turn of the century, in the early 1900s, similar to what we were seeing right here. I remember say at the turn of the century, you had World War I, similar to what you have war taking place now. Yeah, I think it was the Spanish flu that came out, similar to what you have the COVID. There was a slowdown in economic activities, although there was high expectation coming in the turn of the century. Just as we have a slowdown in activities now. Very similar conditions what Marcus Garvey recognized at the end of World War I that other ships were being sold. And there was a big discussion about Africa being the source of wealth. Just as we have the thing with Africa being the source of wealth now, because I remember that prior to that, in the late 1800s, they had the split up of Africa. But Marcus saw where with ships you could actually engage in trade between South in this area and Africa. I remember Marcus traveled through the whole of the Central and South American places, and a big headquarters in Panama, and to the United States, and so he was a bridge builder at the time. So this presentation has really dedicated to Marcus Garvey. Yeah, so mighty works that he has done and things still as the one who consolidated the diaspora. I'm still at it within the context that this was concurrently the work was being done by Haile Selassie to build out an independent Africa as well. So as a context, you have to know who you're addressing. Seeing? It's not just a millennial kids anymore with coding and robotics. When you talk about Generation Z, the I generation and Alpha generation, and this generation we call Generation Z, them says the most entrepreneurial generation coming about. See, but also moving from an age of belief, which is a Piscean age, which says based on water, fish element, which is emotions, into an Aquarian age, the age will be age of mentalism, which is the age of knowing. I say this is the age of Rastafari, because Rastafari don't believe as in the Piscean age. Rastafari know as in the Aquarian age. And not by coincidence, the symbol for the Aquarian age is the same symbol and put up for Haile Selassie in his coronation in Addis Ababa. You can go and look at it and you'll see it. I'll do another presentation which is called Haile Selassie, the golden meaning the Aquarian age. We'll look at that at the secret geometry things surrounding Haile Selassie in Ethiopia. And Haile Selassie being a kind of stargate to know for I and I to move to different dimensions and things in terms of consciousness. See, we're moving away from what is called the Millennium Development Goals to the Sustainable Development Goals. And we know the 17 SDGs, the first 5 foundation principles are what? Zero poverty, zero hunger, access to health and wellness, access to education. See, it also speak about gender equity, and of course, a clean and access to clean water and sanitation. See, those are the 6 basic fundamental principles upon which other 11 principles are built in the Sustainable Development Goals. See, but note that in the region, just as in 1492 when Jamaica and the Caribbean became the center of world trade in 1492, and therefore the region was the first global logistics platform in that triangular trade. Because I remember you talk about Africa to the Caribbean and to back into Europe, But remember, the Americas was being developed, so the Caribbean was a central platform, especially Jamaica, where you move from Jamaica and go to all the other places and things. Guyana is a very important land space in terms of the mainland, and Bahamas are the next important land space to get into the United States, primarily through like all that Miami area and things still. People understand the geography more than I. Seeing? But we also know that Marcus had mentioned that the Panama Canal must be expanded. And we see an expansion of the Panama Canal was completed in 2016. And the purpose of expanding the Panama Canal is was to allow them called the Panamax ships to come through. And these are ships them can hold like thousands, I would say 10,000 of them say containers, but they are 3 times the size of regular ships. They are concerned now though about the Panama Canal because of climate change and waters dropping. All over the globe, they have those kind of concerns, but that was the plan and still is the plan because there was an urgency to increase world trade. Just as how the man had built the Panama Canal and open around the same time, I don't know if it's 1914. We need to check that and see if it's 1914. The Panama Canal was open. Seeing? And it expanded 100 years after it expanded. That's in 2016. Seeing? Now, note that within this context, Jamaica have several protected elements. I mean, I think now within the context of climate change, seeing, and how we address things in the environment. This is the context we operate in. So we can't just think about doing things we like. I mean, I think about what we call the blue economy, the orange economy to the culture and creative space. Blue have to do with the seas and ocean related elements. Green economy have to do with land-based agriculture components. And of course, I'm saying blue, green, orange, and silver economy have to do with providing goods and services or persons who are aged. In Europe, them say it's 50. You know, in the Caribbean, that might be a different thing because when you're 50, you're not necessarily an older person by Caribbean standards. But it's a provision of goods and services for persons within that era. But just look at some of that Jamaica alone. The Blue and Drunken Mountains, the Port Royal, Cockpit Country, the Black River Morass, Kingston Creative City, Reggae Global Treasures. You have those things as well. Seeing reggae music. But if you think about the Caribbean, it is even more serious. Because everything will come out of the Caribbean is like a global treasure. See, some of the music and the food, you know, over there at Dominica, I'm amongst the Caliago people who live on, I think, is the east coast of Dominica. Them people there for over 500 years unbroken knowledge. If you go to Guyana, oh, you have all different type of people. You have the history, the Indian culture, the African culture, you have the original people who are there, the indigenous people. I mean, there are so many protected spaces in places like Guyana and Suriname, Belize, which are mainland places. You go to Kaito Falls. See? If you go to St. Vincent, Antigua, everywhere you go in the region, there are so many protected special places. So we have to know that we are speaking about the relevance of Marcus Garvey work in a similar but somewhat different context, because now you are thinking about things like AI, which is both artificial intelligence as well as ancient intelligence, because there's a rise in consciousness in terms of how one relates to the environment and not just economics. So in the discourse, you talk about environmental and social governance framework coming out of COP. Seeing people speaking now about mainstream and the most vulnerable. These are things that Marcus Garvey was doing for INI people. And we have to write in the national MSME policies. You know, so along with speaking to those different kind of economies, orange, blue, green, and silver, we have to say how you use policies to mainstream the most vulnerable across gender, across youths, across persons with disabilities, and centralizing ideas of climate change as part of the strategic planning framework. So you have to be thinking about all these things. See? So note, a lot of the issues that were being addressed by Marcus Garvey at the time, while the face of them might seem a bit different, but the fundamentals of them still remain the same. Inequity across people based on race and color and country and all of these things that man make up. And those who have an abundance of resources are the ones who seem to be less able to transform those resources into meaningful goods and services. So what I'm arguing is that Marcus Garvey was not just an entrepreneur. Seeing? Somebody was establishing business to generate money for herself. That was not the case. Marcus Garvey is more of a social entrepreneur. And a social entrepreneur is a mission-driven individual who seeks to create value, economic, social, cultural, and environmental value, what we call the quadruple bottom line value creation. Yes, as a way of improving the quality of lives of persons. But he must do this by having an independent and diversified income stream. That's why we argue about businesses. So clearly Marcus Garvey, through the UNIA model, had something like that. So we say we established the largest and first formal transnational social enterprise cluster under the UNIA, because Marcus Garvey things stretch across many different countries. That was never done by anybody at all. Nowhere. Even today, you have about over 3 million people as part of an organization without a cell phone. Seeing, and you have about an analog age as against in a digital age now. So you must see the difference. He established the first what we call the crowdfunding platform. You know, as a matter of fact, that is what he was sent to prison for, because he was selling shares in the company. Now we call it crowdfunding. I can get money from anybody. So note, the cluster for the social enterprise, including the mother organization, which is UNIA, the message is called the African Communities League. The African Communities League provided oversight for the businesses. The Black Star Line Shipping Company, which was the biggest company, we call the Negro Scratch Corporation, that holds what we call micro, small, and medium enterprises today, like the factories, the bakeries, etc. I have other enterprises which are like we call nano enterprises, various micro enterprises. So I'm cover all three areas. Not using the same language that I'm using, but you can see in practice. And this, I argue, provide a blueprint for entrepreneurship and social entrepreneurship amongst disenfranchised peoples and nations globally. We like to deny these things. So a guy must expect I know to go and get a next person's text, which emerge out of a reality that is fundamentally different from my mind, to use as the information to transfer knowledge to our people. That don't make sense. The history of the Caribbean has been a social entrepreneurial experience. We are always disenfranchised. We have to try to find a way, and we do it very successfully too, through our own creativity and innovativeness. We make situations that seem impossible, not only possible, but above world standards. That is the history of the Caribbean. When we say, well, we turn and make fashion. We create something out of nothing. You know, like I mean, say, if you make blood out of stone or bread out of stone, whichever way we want to use it. But we do those things. See, and that is why Jamaica and many Caribbean have space maybe rank in the world, highest in the world, one of the highest regions in the world in terms of creativity and innovation. And if people want to question it, you will just check. Creativity and innovativeness is best expressed through where? The creative industries, what we call orange economy. So you think about the global footprint of the Caribbean as a cultural super space. The impact, there's no place on the earth that have proportionally impact that the Caribbean have on the face of the earth in terms of culture. So you have to talk about 25 million people in our space. The land mass is not even anything to talk about. And look at the impact that I have globally. Music, food, sports, fashion, everything that makes up the culture and creative space. Caribbean people is not no regular people. See? So we're saying Marcus Garvey created the model that I think is most crucial. So if you check some of the writings, see Rugdaff them say it, that Marcus Garvey created one of the most useful model, and one of the themes that him capture was the role of entrepreneurship in improving the economic position of black, because you know, say around them time the blacks were disenfranchised. Earlier the man destroyed what they call the Black Wall Street. And his tools at Oklahoma was a very successful business model that was being developed, and the man bomb it up. Seeing? Notice, Lewis argued that although the Marcus Garvey led the largest black movement in history, yet about over 4 million people. Hill also records over 1,000 divisions of the UNIA to the African Communities League worldwide, with 836 in the United States. And this is without an ICT platform. That's what a platform. And there's abundance of scholarship on these things, man. See? So Martin, how about people write some stuff? These are some quotes from Marcus. Say, action, self-reliance, the vision of self and future have been the only means by which the oppressed have seen and realized the light of their own freedom. So you have to have self-reliance and collective security here. So entrepreneurship, that gives you that, you know. So implicitly, this model is built upon entrepreneurship. So without commerce and industry, our people perish economically. And black people are perishing as you have no economic system. You need a capitalist system of your own to combat the heartless capitalist system of the mass white ruling class. So Marcus believed in people owning and operating enterprises. For a better way to use the word capitalist, that implicitly have certain things in it. But the mindset is what is different. That's why we want to make the distinction between a social entrepreneur, because it was on a mission. It wasn't about selfish self-interest, as how we talk about traditional economics. You know. No, it's about an enlightened self-interest, which means that self-reliance to support collective security. And creating our businesses give us political, economic independence, which is what can give a real political independence. So you say you want black producers, black distributors, black consumers. The world of black can be self-contained. We desire earnestly to deal with the rest of the world, but if the rest of the world does not, we don't need to. We don't need to. So it was clear that Marcus recognized these things, that through having our own economic independence, we can attain what we call SDGs. And see them right there? No poverty, zero hunger. Those people are not going to do this. The world is not short of money or short of resources. It's distribution. So, but if the mindset of the people who go in the space is one of selfish self-interest and believe that the environment is against them and they have to be surviving the fittest to survive, they will not be doing these things. So you have to do these things on your own. You have to establish your own economic system to ensure you have no poverty,